I am 94 years old, and I am sitting on the edge of a bed that still has two pillows. Two pillows. One of them hasn't been touched in 11 days. It still has the dip in it from the shape of her head. I haven't moved it. I can't move it. If I move it, then it's real. If I move it, then this bed belongs to one person, and I'm not ready to say that out loud yet. So the pillow stays. And right across from me, on her dresser, there's a wooden jewelry box. Old, ornate, the kind with little brass hinges that don't close right anymore. It's been sitting there for longer than most of you have been alive. Decades. Just sitting there, collecting dust, keeping quiet. She never opened it in front of me. Not once. And I never asked her what was inside. You want to know why? Because I didn't think it mattered. 72 years we were married. 72. And everyone called it love. Every anniversary card, every toast at every dinner, every neighbor who leaned over the fence and said, "You two are the real thing." Every photograph in the hallway where we're standing next to each other, smiling. They called it beautiful. It wasn't. And I need you to hear me right now, before you click away, before you scroll to someone younger with better advice and a prettier story. You think the worst thing in this life is losing someone. It's not. The worst thing is sitting beside someone for an entire lifetime and never arriving, never getting there. Never landing in the place where you actually know them, and they actually know you, and the silence between you is peace instead of distance. I know the difference now. I learned it 11 days ago, and it is too late. Let me go back. It was 1952 when I married her. I was 22, she was 20. I had a jaw like a fist and hands like my father's, rough from work before I even had a real job. I was raised by a man who said love was showing up. That's it. You show up. You don't leave. You put food on the table. You keep the door locked at night. You don't complain, and you don't quit. That was the whole philosophy. That was the entire manual for being a husband. And I believed it. God, I believed it like gospel. She was different. She was light in a room. She wrote things, little poems on napkins, letters she'd send to her sister that were 4 pages long. She'd read books on the porch with her shoes off and laugh out loud at sentences. She had this way of looking at you like she was asking something without speaking, like her eyes were holding a door open, waiting for you to walk through. I never walked through. I was too busy building, too busy providing. I put a roof over our heads, and I thought that was the ceiling of what love required. I smelled like black coffee and starched shirts every morning, and I kissed her on the forehead on my way out the door, and I thought that was enough. Every single morning. The same kiss, the same forehead, the same silence. We ate dinner together every night for 72 years. You know how many real conversations we had? The kind where you put your fork down and look at someone, and say something that actually cost you something to say. I could count them on one hand, maybe two, out of over 26,000 dinners. We talked about the weather, the neighbors, what needed fixing, who called, what was on the news. We talked about everything that didn't matter, and we never once talked about what did. She tried, I'll give her that. She tried in ways I didn't recognize until it was far too late. One night, early on, maybe 5 years into the marriage, she looked at me across the table and said, "What are you afraid of?" Just like that, out of nowhere. And I laughed. I actually laughed. I said, "Afraid? I'm not afraid of anything." And I went back to eating. She didn't ask again. Not ever. And I took that silence as agreement. I took her quiet as confirmation that I was doing fine, that we were fine, that the machine was running and there was no need to open the hood. I built everything around us. This house, this furniture, these walls. And now I sit here surrounded by all of it, and I can tell you exactly what it amounts to. It amounts to a man who used provision as a place to hide. I gave her everything except the one thing she was asking for. I gave her a life. I just never gave her me. Now let me tell you about the night that broke me. It was 11 days ago, the night after her funeral. The house was full of smells that didn't belong. Casseroles from neighbors stacked in the refrigerator, wrapped in foil. Things with cream of mushroom soup and noodles. Food made by kind people who didn't know what else to do. There were flowers on the kitchen counter, already starting to wilt. Lilies. She always hated lilies. Nobody knew that. I knew that. And I didn't tell anyone because I didn't think to say it. And now the house smelled like the one flower she couldn't stand. And somehow that felt like the perfect summary of everything. I walked into our bedroom. The clock on the wall was ticking. It's always ticking. 60 years that clock has been on that wall. And I swear I never heard it until that night. But when you take a person out of a room, when you subtract a whole human being from a space they've lived in for decades, what's left is just sound. The tick, the tick, the tick. Like the room was counting the seconds she'd been gone, and it was never going to stop. Her slippers were still on the floor next to her side of the bed, angled out the way they always were, like she'd just stepped out of them and walked to the bathroom. I almost called her name. I swear to you, my mouth almost formed the word. Habit. 72 years of habit. Your body doesn't know someone's gone. Your mind does. Your chest does. But your mouth, your hands, your feet walking toward the kitchen to make 2 cups of coffee instead of 1. Those parts haven't gotten the message yet. I sat on the bed, and I looked at that jewelry box. It had been sitting on that dresser since at least 1980, maybe earlier. Dark wood, a little scratch on the left side, a thin line of dust around the base where she'd cleaned around it but never moved it. I never opened it. She never offered. It was hers. That was the unspoken rule. We had a lot of unspoken rules. We had an entire marriage built on unspoken rules. But she was gone, and the rules went with her. I walked over. I picked it up. It was lighter than I expected. I opened the little brass clasp, and the hinge creaked the way old things do when they've been still for too long. There were no jewels inside. No rings, no bracelets, no pearls. Nothing a jewelry box is supposed to hold. Just a single piece of paper, folded twice, yellowed, soft at the edges the way paper gets when years have pressed down on it. I unfolded it. Her handwriting, small, careful, slanting to the right the way it always did. And at the top, a date, 1987. She wrote it in 1987, 37 years ago. It was a letter to me, a letter she never sent, never handed over, never read aloud. She'd written it and folded it and put it in that box and closed the clasp and set it on the dresser and waited. She waited for 37 years for me to ask what was inside, and I never did. The letter was short. It wasn't angry. That's what broke me. It wasn't bitter, wasn't cruel. It was just honest. She wrote about feeling lonely. Not alone, lonely. She made the distinction in the letter. She said, alone is when no one is there. Lonely is when someone is there and you still feel it. She said she loved me. She said she never doubted that I was a good man. But she said she felt invisible, like she was living beside someone who had memorized her routine, but never learned her heart. And at the bottom, one question, one line, underlined once in pencil. Do you even see me? I read it standing up, and then I wasn't standing anymore. My knees just went. Not dramatic, not like the movies. They just stopped holding. I sat on the floor with my back against her dresser, and I held that piece of paper. And the only sound in the world was that paper crinkling between my fingers and my own breathing, which didn't sound like mine anymore. She carried that fear her whole life. The fear of being unloved by the man who slept 3 feet away from her every single night. She carried it silently, and she died with it still inside her. And I was right there. I was right there the entire time. That was 11 days ago. The jewelry box sits on my nightstand now. I moved it to my side. Every morning I wake up and it's the first thing I see. And it greets me like an accusation, like a judge that doesn't need to say a word because the evidence is already laid out. I've read the note so many times the creases are going soft. The fold lines are barely holding. I could recite every word with my eyes closed, and I do. Some nights I read it out loud, and then I answer her, out loud, to an empty room. I say the things I should have said when her ears were still working, when her heart was still beating, when it could have mattered. I say, I saw you. I did see you. I was just afraid that if I said it, I'd have to feel it. And if I felt it, I'd have to be something I didn't know how to be. The room doesn't answer. Rooms don't. That's the thing about waiting too long. You end up having the most important conversations of your life with furniture and silence. This house echoes now. Every footstep, every cabinet closing, every cough. It all comes back to me like the house is reminding me that sound needs somebody to land on, and there's nobody here to catch it anymore. I walk past the closet and catch the faint smell of her perfume on a housecoat she hasn't worn in months, but that I will never wash. I eat alone at a table set for one. I sleep on my side of the bed, only my side, because even now I can't bring myself to cross that invisible line down the middle. And that jewelry box. You know what haunts me most about it? It never held jewelry. Not once. She never put a ring in it, never dropped a pair of earrings inside. It was always just the note. And I think I know why. I think she never felt precious enough to wear beautiful things. I think she was waiting for me to make her feel that way. And I was too busy being proud of the fact that I never left. You want to know the lie I believed for 72 years? Here it is. Staying is the same as loving. If you don't quit, that means you care. If you're still in the house, you're still in the marriage. That is a lie. Staying is geography. A chair stays. A wall stays. A stone at the bottom of a river stays. Love is not furniture. Love is not a fixed object in a room. Love is a verb, and I forgot to do it. Now I'm talking to you. Yes, you. The one watching this right now. You're watching this thinking 72 years sounds beautiful. Stop it. Stop admiring the length of something without asking about the depth of it. A prison sentence is long, too. Length means nothing if the person beside you is drowning quietly and you never reach out your hand. I want you to do something tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. I want you to turn to the person you love, and I want you to ask them one question. The same question she asked me in 1952 that I laughed off like a fool. Ask them, what are you afraid of? And then do the part I never did. Shut your mouth and listen. Actually listen. Don't fix it. Don't dismiss it. Don't laugh. Just hear them. Let them be seen. That's all she ever wanted. That's all most people ever want. She wrote that note in 1987. I found it in 2024. 37 years that letter sat in a box on a dresser, 3 feet from where I slept, waiting for me to care enough to ask. 37 years. Don't you let someone die holding words that were meant for you. Don't you dare let that happen. That jewelry box is open now. It's empty. The note is out. I've propped it up against her photograph on the nightstand so she can see that I finally read it. 72 years, and I am just now arriving, and she is already gone.